All right. Well, back and looking at James 3, just going to look at the first two verses because I read something out of nostalgia that kind of rocked my world. And James chapter 3 from the ESV, verses 1 and 2 reads like this: Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness. For we all stumble in many ways. And if anyone does not stumble in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to bridle his whole body. And, you know, I haven't looked at this book over here, in quite some time. I don't know if you can see this well. This is Faith, Hope, and Love by a guy named Spiros Zodhiates. This is actually one of the first, um, it might be the first commentary I ever purchased. And Spiros Zodhiates, that's an old school dude, a Greek guy. And I mean, look at this. Look at this. I mean, the book of James is like no more than, 5 or 6 pages in my Bible, but there are some 500 pages in this book just on the book of James. I mean, Spiros Zodhiates goes through, I think, every Greek word and gives a commentary on almost every Greek word in the whole text. It is madness. It is absolute madness. And I totally forgot that I even had this book because I got like the A team, my A squad here in the office, and then I got the B squad of books at the house, right? And I don't know what I was looking for, and I said, I should check at the house. And then I saw this bad boy at the house. I was like, oh man, I should check it out and see what it says. Um, you know, I should just like look at it. I haven't looked at it in years, and which is bad because I just wrote a paper for school on James, and I probably should have checked this out. But anyway, totally forgot I had it. But I read this little story, which this book is full of all kinds of interesting stories. Um, this is what Spiros wrote about this passage here, this concept of a perfect man. A perfect man. He says, Many of us are like that man who prided himself on his morality and some specific virtues and said, I'm pretty good on the whole. I sometimes get mad and speak a couple of unnecessary words, but then I am pretty honest. I work on Sundays when I'm particularly busy, but I give a good deal to the poor and have never been drunk in my life. This man one day hired a Scotsman to build a fence around his pasture lot. He gave him very particular directions. In the evening, when the Scotsman came in from work, the man said, "Well, Jack, is is the fence built, and is it good and strong?" "I cannot say it is all tight and strong," Jack replied, "but it's a good average fence anyhow. If some parts are a little weak, others are extra strong. I don't know, but I have, he said, I do not know, but I have left a little gap here and there and a yard or so wide on each side of the gap. I dare say the cattle will find it a good fence on the whole and will like it, though I cannot say it is perfect in every part." "What?" cried the man, not seeing the point. "Do you tell me that you built a fence around my lot with weak places and gaps in it, why, you might as well not have built a fence at all. If there is one opening or a place where an opening can be made, the cattle will be sure to find it and will be sure to go through. Don't you know, man, that a fence must be perfect, or else it is worthless? I used to think so, said the man, but I hear you talking so much about averaging matters with the Lord. It seems to me we might try it with the cattle. Yeah. He goes on to say, what an apt illustration this is of the average Christian, of the average teacher in the house of God. We are not fallible in words only, but in many things. But if we are perfect in some things, there is no balancing off. The fence that is weak in one spot is weak in all spots. It needs strengthening. Let us therefore acknowledge our imperfections and our failings and weaknesses and invite the Lord to strengthen us. You know, um, clearly this book needs to be back on with the A squad, um, if for no other reason than what I just read there. Um, you know, well, what can we say? Um, Sometimes we're so happy to justify our imperfections before the Lord, and yet what we would accept from another, somehow we put a higher standard on what we would receive from someone else, right? Like how dare you bring this to me? And yet somehow we expect God to just casually deal with, the things that we're clearly imperfect on. And sometimes we even revel in our imperfections. And we sometimes even boast of our imperfections, you know, um, because we claim that our imperfections are what make us quote unquote relatable to others. And we're very proud, to say that we're not so high and mighty, so holy, or so saved. And we use these kinds of phrases as if almost to belittle personal holiness, or as if to almost belittle um, the law. And don't get me wrong, I'm not reading this because, I think that, I don't think Spiros wrote it because he thinks he's better. And I'm not right. I'm not, saying this because I think I'm better. But it's good to pause and consider, you know, what it is that we are, so frail and so weak in so many ways. Um, and yet God is content to come and to strengthen us. But we have to see it in ourselves first. I think we have to acknowledge how deficient we are and have been before we can truly see how high and how wide and how long and how deep and how strong is the love of God that has come in the face of Jesus to come and receive the punishment that was due to us, who set us free from the law, in the sense that knowing that we could never accomplish it, he himself embraced what it was to be perfectly obedient to the law and has given us his righteousness, has accounted for us the righteousness of God on our account, exchanging his perfection for our sin. Um, it's good to pause and think about that. and how aptly, how appropriate it is to consider this thought, because sometimes we're so careless and so casual with our words. And this is one really easy place for us to justify ourselves. You know, um, we take the harshness of our words towards others and promote that as honesty, promote it as telling the truth. Um, but have we told the truth in love? Is a good question to ask. Have we told it in a tone that someone would at least understand that this person actually cares and isn't just trying to trap me? Um, there's so many ways that we fail, so many ways that we fail. And just thought, like, wow, um, what we're willing to present to God, you know, would we accept it ourselves? And this Scotsman, this imaginary Scotsman, God bless him, you know, for the parable of his poor work as a good opportunity for us to examine ourselves, for me to examine me, for me to examine me, and see whether or not this is really something that I'm guilty of. Mea culpa, for sure. I've done it. Um, maybe, just maybe you have too. Um, let's invite the Lord to strengthen us. Let's invite the Lord to forgive us. Let's invite the Lord to make us more like his son, day to day, little by little. Yeah, so that's it. That's it. We'll be back. We'll be back. There are more beatings ahead. Yes, there are more beatings ahead. All right. All right.